I am Gero Lustig. I am the digital lead for the region Central and Southern Europe. And I have the pleasure to be the host of this Tech Talk today. With me, there are Tobias Nitsche and Massimo Scano, who I will introduce in a minute to you. But before we do that, I would like to do a little housekeeping before we get started so that you know how to participate in today's event. We have taken a screenshot of an example of an attendee interface. You should see something like that on your own computer desktop. The control panel hides automatically when not in use. You move your cursor to bring it back. You have the opportunity to submit text questions to today's presenters by typing your question into the Q&A box of the attendee interface. You may send in your question at any time during the presentation, which will last approximately 30 to 35 minutes. And then we have another 25 minutes for your question and answers, so that we will end at the top of the hour. And we hope that we can have a lively Q&A session after the presentation. If you cannot locate the Q&A in your meeting controls, then click on the controls button with the three dots, then click on Q&A. This will add the Q&A box so that you can type in your questions. A reminder that all attendees are in mute mode, and today's presentation is being recorded and will be provided to you by tomorrow for your reference. Another little housekeeping. Number two, a disclaimer before we start that the information in this presentation, respectively, the document shown, may be subject to change and should not be construed as a commitment by ABB, along with the other limitations as listed here. Housekeeping number three is safety is our first priority, and the target is zero harms, always. So no matter where you are, please be aware of your surroundings, know your local emergency procedures, understand the escape routes, do not delay exiting the area, help visitors and people with special needs to exit safely, and meet a designated muster point to be accounted for. And in times of COVID, please obey local corona rules, keep social distance and a reasonable distance from each other. But now, with no further ado, I'd like to come to the topic. We will turn it to the presenters. We have Tobias Nitsche here. Though young in age, he has gained a vast experience in the implementation of cyber resilience measures at several production sites at our customers, and he serves as a cyber security practice lead for the European and Middle East region. He's located in Frankfurt, Germany. Welcome, Tobias. Massimo Scano is a long-term ABB fellow located in Milano, Italy, and he manages our cyber security lead center. Also, he has a vast experience in cybersecurity with many implementations at our customer sites. I had the pleasure to work with both of them for long-term, being the regional digital lead for Central Southern Europe. And as I said, I also have the pleasure to be your host today. So, Tobias, tell me what you have in store for us today.
Hi, thank you, Gero, for the introduction. So today we will talk about customer challenges that we have seen in the market, and from then on I will talk a little bit about the European NIS Directive 2 and how that could impact businesses of our customers and how we can help. Going then from that to our portfolio items and our offerings, talking about how that maps and, for example, with cybersecurity risk assessment.
Excellent. Thank you, Tobias. Okay, and then Massimo is also presenting some ideas how to increase cyber resilience. So Massimo, what will be your topics?
Thanks, Gero, for the introduction. Hi, all. Yes, today we will see how to have a better view of your system, how to monitor better your system, how to see what is happening in your system, and how we can better support you for any problem related to cybersecurity.
Excellent, very good. Thank you, Massimo. And thereafter, as I said earlier, we will have a question and answer section. And if you have questions, don't hesitate to type them into the Q&A section, and then we can address them in our discussion later on. So by that, I would like to turn it over to Tobias, who will kick off the presentation on our approach to cybersecurity and how to get ready for the upcoming European directive for cybersecurity, NIS2. Tobias.
Yeah, thank you. So what I want to start with is, first of all, I read yesterday that the ENISA, so the European Union Agency for Cybersecurity, will publish today its threat landscape report for 2021, which is an interesting information. I have read the last ones, and it's always a good source. So I just want to let you know there is an upcoming document that will published today. So that's a starting point, but and this is let's say one of the topics you see here on that slide in the middle. So increasing number of cyber attacks, especially when it comes to OT environments, and yeah, this is one of the challenges that we see, and the different local governments are looking into these topics. And for example, in Germany, the BSI has published soon their outlook, and it looks not very good, I would say. So there is this is a hot topic at the moment. So and based on that, the regulatory requirements that will come will be more and more. And one of the indications is that the already existing NIS directive, so the Network and Information System Directive on Security, will be extended with the NIS2 directive, which is a draft version at the moment. So this everyone should be aware. At the moment, it's a draft, but it's a draft that is already, let's say, published to be
to be released, I guess.
To be released, exactly. Thank you. And the plan is to release it this year. So it should be released 2021. And based on that, there is another, the EU RCE, the directive on the resilience of critical entities. And these playing together. And the NIS2 directive will extend the scope. It strengthens the security requirements. It addresses supply chain and streamline reporting obligations. So there's lots of changes, and that is coming to our customers and also to us as a vendor of. You will see it when I come to the next slide about the sectors. And then there is another challenge of cybersecurity monitoring in OT environments, where we see at customers there is a lack of OT cybersecurity resources, and the shiny products that you will see all over the media and also in our portfolio that cover the all vendor aspect. These are very good solutions, but you need to be very, let's say you need to identify the right solutions, and you need to verify, for example, in a proof of concept, if they really can do what they are promising when it comes to the protocols, for example, or the legacy stuff. And for the new protocols, all they can do, or they can do a lot, but for others, it might be that you find in a supported protocol list a protocol, but supported does not mean how detailed it is supported. Maybe they just identify the protocol and that's all. So yeah, so this is something where we have seen in the past things that will not help if you need to identify a threat. So yeah, and the other topic is the security operations centers, typically hosted in the IT are now connecting the OT, which is good. So there has to be a connection between the systems. There has to be a connection between the teams. But the incident response playbooks they are using in their security operations center are not designed for OT. So they don't know exactly how to react on events. And even if there is an event, is it really an event that I need to look for? Is it a false positive? Things like that are, this knowledge is not available typically in these kind of SOCs. And and also on the vendors that support these SOCs typically. This is what we have seen. These are challenges in the market, and we want to show you how we can help you closing these gaps.
Right. Because I think it requires some expertise on OT, on the system itself, to identify the threats correctly.
Exactly. This is what we want to say. Just implement a tool that might be understand OT protocols does not mean that it really does, and that the outcome or the alarming really helps the team in front of it how to react on it. So there is much more domain knowledge needed, and also maybe even different tools working together helping these teams in the process. Yeah, the next slide now shows the extended scope of the NIS2 directive. What you see here in bold is new, and the other things are already existing in the NIS directive that is out at the moment. So what we can see are many of our customers are in that new scope, even us when we see industry, technology, and engineering. So this is really an extended list.
So quite many more customers are related to this new to the scope of the NIS2.
Yeah, exactly. And when you go to the next slide, we can look into detail what is in that draft that is or that are obligations imposed on entity operators. So we have on one hand the cybersecurity measures. And when I say cybersecurity measures, it means there has to be a risk and information security policy in place for these systems. And it means there has to be a risk-based approach on the cybersecurity challenges. So what I need to implement should be based on a risk assessment, or at least on a risk scale. And then next topic is the incident management from prevention over to detection up to management. So we need preventive and detective security controls paired with security operations. And the third one is business continuity management, which implicates that there has to be an incident response plan. So we need to have a disaster recovery plan in place. We really need to understand how we can secure the business, how we can run it, how we can restore it if a disaster strikes to the, let's say, minimum to still operate. And all of that has to be in place and documented for these systems. And then the fourth one is the supply chain security, including secure development at supplier companies. So meaning we as ABB, for example, have certified development organizations from ISA, where we can show an IEC 62443 4.1 certificate that we are acting like that. So this is our part here, but the same is for others. So the supply chain is also now part of the directive. Then you need sufficient use of encryption, which is interesting. What means sufficient? But as I said, it's a draft. So in an OT space, where can we use encryption? We at ABB have different options here. But it's not only on the OT space. So in this two directive covers the whole picture. And the sixth one is measuring the effectiveness of information security through testing and audit. Again, you need to have a risk assessment, you need to have fingerprints, you need to have health checks, things like that. And you will see later how we can help with that. Then there is the standards, which means there's an option for member states to force critical operators to obtain EU cybersecurity certifications. So at the moment, we don't know what that means, but it could be that there is a requirement or that a country can adopt these NIS2 directive in their local law in a way that they say you need to be compliant to that certification body, things like that. And there is the option of reporting, which means immediate reporting of relevant disruptions, incidents, and cyber threats to the National Cybersecurity Authority. So to immediate report, first of all, you need to identify. If you have no visibility, you cannot identify and you cannot report, and especially not immediate. If there is no incident response plan, you might not know how to immediate report to whom. So there is an implication of all of the topics. That means we need good processes in place, good supporting tools, service agreements, all of that is it will be covered by that. And when I say covered, it means it is a draft this year. When it gets released, the local countries have 18 months to put this into local law. That is the order, and which means this will come, I would say, shortly. So now is a good time to act and plan for it.
Yeah, and if I look at the list, it's a fairly long list to implement all these measures. Will definitely take 18 months easily. So getting ready now and plan for it is, I think, an imperative at this point in time.
Yes, exactly. This is why we have that TechTalk started.
Mm-hmm.
We as ABB have our globally available experts through ABB's Collaborative Operations Center. Massimo will tell you more about that later. We have, as a vendor of these products, years of experience with security events and incident response playbooks for ICS systems. So exactly for that requested items. We know what normal behavior in OT systems is, so this helps to shorten these typical learning or coordination phases at the beginning of these projects, or if you introduce a cybersecurity program, which also helps to reduce false positive rates. So this is, I think, one of the things where we as a vendor can support our customers very good. And on the other hand, the supervision of ICS security solutions by ICS vendors means there is a clear responsibility. When you think about incident response plans and disaster recovery plans, with multiple responsibilities, these plans and these processes will get highly complicated. That's at least from a supervisory perspective easier if the vendor is, in our opinion, if the vendor is included and there are clear responsibilities. When it comes to the disaster recovery, most of our customers already have these contracts with us to help them out if something happens, even if it's not cybersecurity related. But if we introduce other things now, it gets interested who is the responsible resource. And the other possibility or the other positive thing, go with ABB as a partner for sure. It is a seamless integration with our other services and products.
Yeah. And if as we have probably an audience with a big DCS or automation background, ICS, DCS or OT system, that's it's all the same for cyber. So from a cyber perspective, that's industrial control system or distributed control system or OT system is what is meant with the process control system we are usually talking.
Yeah.
Okay. Coming to the next section, which is identify your cybersecurity risk.
Exactly. So when you look in, I have mentioned the upcoming, let's say, a publication from ENISA about the threat landscape from 2021. This is an interesting thing, because also this list that you see here I have taken from ENISA. This is from the publication of Emerging Trends, so also a very good resource to look into. I liked that questions, because I think if you have an answer to all of these questions, your cybersecurity program is in a good shape. And if you have not the answers to these questions, or some of them are maybe not clear, I would suggest talk to us and reach out to ABB there, because we might be able to help you answering the questions, or guide you in the right direction to answer these questions, because these are critical questions. You need to know what is the attack surface, and this is different in OT, IT, even for OT systems, it might be different where they are placed. So when you look into all these criticality scales or CVE scorings, it really depends where the asset is placed. What is the environment where it is? This completely changes attack surface. It might changes the risk. So there is an implication to environment. You need to know what are the most valuable assets, and what are the critical vulnerabilities to these assets. What are used attack vectors? Yeah, like I said, you need to answer these questions by yourself. If you're not able to, we are happy to help you.
Okay, perfect.
Here you can see ABB's approach to cybersecurity. It is our strategy, this three-pillar strategy about foundation, security, service, and operations. So when I say foundation, it means we really talk about the foundational controls, meaning starting with assessments, a risk assessment, really understand what is the risk of my system, or a gap assessment based on, for example, ABB's reference architecture that Massimo will tell you a little bit more later, or a fingerprint of the system. Then with the information of these assessments, you can introduce mitigation options, which could be an antivirus, so the basic controls now, or a backup and recovery solution, allow listing, whatever. Or on the other hand, we have the trainings, awareness trainings, to really help the operators understand what's happening in the system, or from a cybersecurity perspective, what's normal, what's not normal, how I need to react if my mice, like we have seen in these wastewater facility case in the US, where they did not have much cybersecurity controls in place. It could have ended worse, but the operator has identified there is something strange happening on my computer, and the mice arrow is moving around. So he was aware that's not normal, and that was at the end what helped, right? So training of the people is really a key argument. Then from foundation, there's services. So whatever we introduce into the system needs maintenance when it comes to cybersecurity. An antivirus what is not updated or patched, or a system that is not patched, will have vulnerabilities very soon after implementation. It might even extend the attack vector. That is one of the things here, what I want to highlight with maintenance. If you introduce stuff in the system and you don't maintain it, it might even higher your risk. And on the next topic, consulting, we will help you, for example, identifying the right incident response plans, or a disaster recovery plan, or we can help you in tighten the role-based access control for DCS system. Do we really need to have only three kinds of people, operators, engineers, and administrators, or is there a way to make it more granular in a DCS system? And it is. So things like that we can cover with consultings. And the latest topic, or the last topic here, is operations. And coming back to the requirements from the NIS2 directive, you see that when you have introduced detective mechanisms, they are as good as they are operated. So if no one looks into these systems and what alarms are coming, and this is similar to DCS systems, you need someone looking into it and to understand what's happening there. So we as ABB offer monitoring, incident response, and the analytics here through our COCs, and Massimo will tell you more.
Yeah, and I think that's an important point. Rather than getting a report after things have happened, you really would like to be aware of what is actually going on in the system. So that's only the case if we have operational services. If somebody really looks into the system, who knows it?
Yes, yeah, and we have already touched the topics that we as ABB, our focus is since years on experience helping customers protect control systems. So we are working closely with the bodies like the IEC 62443, have our experts in the working groups there since the beginning. For example, one of our colleagues is working for the part of the risk assessment here in that working group. Then we, with our processes, we really know the type of cyber threats to our customers because we are often involved in these cases. As a vendor, it's typical that we are, even the things that are not going out through the media, we are involved here, and we know how to mitigate risks to the systems because these are our systems. And from technology perspective, ABB can support our customers through the entire life cycle of their assets. I think that is also mentionable because we are aware of the life cycle of these products, which differ completely to the life cycle of IT products. And with that knowledge and we are used to support that, I think it's very good to have a vendor covering the topics here.
Right, but I think everything starts with a solid risk assessment.
Yeah.
Which
the next topic. Yes, and we as ABB have for ourselves said we want to follow a global standard framework in the industry. So we focus on the risk assessment approach from the IEC 62443, which means you need to identify, measure, prioritize, and mitigate. And therefore, there are 7 steps. The first one is to identify the system under consideration together with the customer, meaning defining the scope. Then you go over to perform a high-level risk assessment with the high-level risk assessment report, which means these are high level, and from that you partition the system into zones and conduits. A conduit is the connection between the zones, and the zone is defined by the security requirements of the assets in that zone. And based on that, there is the question in the room, does high level risk exceeds the tolerable risk, which the customer before needs to let us know. So there are different customers, there are different risk appetites at customers and industries, and based on that we need to calculate. And if the answer is no, we can assign the security levels. If the answer is yes, we need to perform a detailed risk assessment, and after that we can assign the security levels. Going further, then there will be a document which is the output of the assessment, and the report will send to the owner, and he then will approve or not approve, and we need to be verifying why. But typically it will be approved, and then based on this you can introduce mitigations, design your cybersecurity program around it. That would be the way how the standard tells us to do it, and this is our service, how we would deliver the risk assessments, and it can deliver it to every system. It is vendor agnostic, so we can and we have delivered this to all the DCS system vendors out there at customer sites. So there is no need to have this risk assessment performed by ABB only on ABB systems.
But now, how can we help you? I guess that would be the next question our listeners would have. So, how can we improve the cybersecurity visibility and incident response? I think that's the next topics, right? Tobias, you're covering this.
Yes, exactly. You can go on the next slide, and you will directly jump into the solution that ABB, or one of the solutions ABB provides. So we have with our ABB Ability Cybersecurity Event Monitoring a tool that helps our customers and us to detect and identify suspicious behaviors, attacks to the system. So what we are doing here is we have a partnership with IBM. We are using their IBM Curator, which is market-leading SIEM solution. And we collect the events, we correlate them with our pre-built use cases that coming from ABB. And based on the use cases, we have the incident response playbooks designed by us. And so we can monitor and react on events, especially for the OT systems, and to be compliant and only use tested, validated products. We have developed our own collector and forwarder that collects the events, not only the Windows events, but also the events coming from our DCS system, like the process alarms. We can have the audit trail list. We have all the information coming from the DCS endpoints from ABB, and we can use them in the correlation rules in with our use cases. Can go ahead to the next slide.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think we need to speed up a little bit because we also want to have a lively discussion in the end.
Yes, please click to the end of that slide. So I already mentioned it's non-intrusive. We have pre-built use cases. It is a flexible deployment, so we can cover OT and IT. Multiple systems can be integrated, and you get, as it is a service you need to subscribe, you get access to our analysts and experts.
Excellent, very good.
And I would hand over.
Yeah, now I think we are handing over to Massimo
Yes.
for the cybersecurity asset
Yes.
inventory.
Yes, asset inventory and have a visibility of your plant. It's one of the great topics that also Tobias was mentioning, that is a requirement from the regulatory compliance. And also there are customers that are preparing with manually with an Excel sheet the asset inventory, but it's quite a mess to maintaining and to keep it up to date. So it's our ABB Ability Cybersecurity Asset Inventory. It's a tool that is not intrusive, that you can insert in your system, and is automatically detecting what everything is connected to your network. And if you have a quite broad distributed network all over the plant, the system will detect automatically if there is any unknown item connected. And this one is done using one functionality in the switch that is the spam port, so the mirroring of the traffic. And in this way, the system is maintaining an up-to-date asset inventory. You can go next.
Yeah, asset inventory, very important topic here.
Yeah, it's collecting data from computer, CPU, network item, and so on. What are some of the benefits of our asset inventory is that with an easy graphic unit interface, you don't need to be an expert to understand what is happening in your system. So you have a four-shot of view where you see if there are changes. So between the previous scan and the new scan, so if there is a new item in, and then you can dig in the new item and you can understand if it's an item that is really belonging to the functionality of your system, or is something that is plug-in, something that is not crucial, and maybe is also something that can harm your system because maybe it's a non-up-to-date PC with Windows 7 or with Windows XP at the end. So, and you can dig in your asset, you can have more detailed information, for you can have the list of the Ethernet card that the system has, to who is speaking to this machine with which type of protocol. You can understand which type of operating system is installed. So a lot of information you are getting automatically, and you can set up the rates of the update of this information. Another important topic is to have reports. So there are inbuilt pre-made reports based on the main standard that you can see here on the right side of the slide. But so with one click, you can create your report and give to the authority the report with all the needed data required by the regulation. Otherwise, if you have some internal rules that want different data, since the database of the asset inventory contains a lot of data, and then you can pick up and create your own report, picking the data that you need to fulfill your requirement. And with this asset inventory, you have a real complete view of what you have connected to the plant, and this is one of the main points to understand on which area you have to do cybersecurity in your plant. Otherwise, maybe you miss some item, and maybe you are not protecting or maintaining a portion of your assets. So it's really, really one of the main topics. Also, at the beginning of your risk assessment, to know to have a complete picture of the installation. And then you can go next. Then the next topic, always to keep higher visibility of your plant, is the network monitoring or the network intrusion detection. The network intrusion detection, always this one is not an intrusive software, so you do not have to install no software in your computer, in your ICSS. But is built with the sensor, the monitoring sensor that you can see in the different level of the network on the left side. So in each, from level 1 to level 3 network, you can add your monitoring sensor that is, they are acquiring the data using the same functionality as our ABB asset inventory. So reading the data from the span port, where is mirroring the traffic of all the other port of the switches, and then is creating a sort of database and making all the mapping of the traffic that is inside, and later on is building up use cases based on the anomaly traffic. So if there is, for example, a traffic between client to server, maybe is normal with the special protocol. But if you have an FTP communication client to client that is transferring gigabyte of files, maybe something that is not okay. And another important things about the ABB network monitoring is the learning mode at the beginning. So you have to do a good baseline, otherwise you are getting some false positives. So it's important that you run the system and you see which are the normal behavior inside your system. So these are not creating false alarm. Another important topic is that the type of network monitoring system that you are using in your system should have inside also a sort of library that is capable to understand which is your normal protocol that you are using, because maybe each and every control system has its own protocol. For example, we are using MMS to communicate between server and the CPU, or we have the RNRP communication to maintain the redundancy in the network. We have planned network communication for other systems. So looking at all the communication and the type of protocol that are used in your network, it's important to, let's say, whitelist what is the normal traffic. This one is not an easy tool to understand, so you need an expert beside. We will see this is one of the services that we can give you from our collaborative operations center, because there are you need a lot of knowledge at first on the tool, obviously, because it's not an easy tool like the asset inventory. but you need also expertise on the type of protocol that is used normally in the network, how is structured an OT environment. So our expert on cybersecurity and on OT environment is ready to help you on any topic and to support you on monitoring your sites. You can go next. Thanks to our global partnership, we have done with two of the main players of this product for network monitoring. One is Nozomi and the other is Forest Scout. We are confident to give to our customer the best support on the network monitoring, because these two, let's say, software or platform can handle very detailed let's say our standard interface, our standard protocol between our machine, because they have inside in their library our standard intercommunication. So we have less false positive alarm while we are inserting these two, one of these two components in our control system. And these are the two best in class in the market. Yep. Our things that we can support you is with the reference architecture, is based on the IC 62443 standard. And let's say it's a guidance to start to review your network, because maybe you have an old installation with a flat network. This is not now the case to have, but you need to segregate the different area, the different level of network, segregating with firewall, protecting your system to third-party system with firewall, and from if you have a connection to the house net or to internet for any reason, because nowadays you have a lot of data exchange between the control system and the IoT. So you need to have a guidance. We have this guidance, and we have our expert to support you restructuring and review your network to comply to the IC standard. This is another great topic.
And coming to the experts, I think there's another very important topic to talk about.
Yes, the last topic is the Collaborative Operation Center. So the place where we are sitting our expert. It's distributed all over the world. Here you see the red dots of where it's placed. We are managing, it's like a real, let's say, control room, like the one that you have in your plant. It's a segregated room. No one, it can enter only the person that are enabled to enter with the badge. It's a quiet place where we are monitoring several plants of our customer for different perspectives. But now we are focusing more on cybersecurity. So it means that from the same environment, we are monitoring also the performance on the plant, the alarm, and so on, and how is going our ICSS. But we have also in the same environment expert relating to cybersecurity that will help you in different topics that we see on the next slide. Mm-hmm. So here you see some picture of our environment. So it's a real control room with desk and big operator station, and we have two in our hub. In the top right, you see which are the country that we are following as a hub, and we are hosting two collaborative operation center, one in Italy, located in Genoa, one in Germany, in Mannheim. And from this center, we can support the customer on the different topics that you see here below. So from the Protect package, so supporting customer on maintaining up-to-date their security update in terms of patches, antivirus, configuration of the whitelisting, if it's working correctly, the automatic distribution, or if there are any changes in the network and you need to insert any item in the security control. Then we can support customer on changing on the network security, updating the firewall because there are new flow of traffic that is needed to pass to the DMZ, or you need to open a port of communication or to change configuration in the switches, or you are a firewall to segregate. So we can support you, and we can support you also on managing the backup and recovery. Backup is one of the great topics that was mentioning also Tobias at the beginning. So to have a sort of let's say restore test. Because you make several backup, but you need to restore sometimes, because otherwise, if you get a real trouble and you want to come back online with your system, maybe you take time, and if your backup is not working, then it's really a mess. And then we also support you to manage and to maintain your user access management. Means the structure of the domain controller, so to segregate the user what can do in your system. So if there are changing in your on the people that are working in your system, we can update the type of user. Maybe is no more a maintenance guy, is becoming an operator, so he has to change the level and the access to the system, so that it's very restricting the type of harming that the guys can make. Then we can do all the monitoring of the package that we were presenting before to you. So from the asset inventory, even if it's an easy tool, but maybe you have no time, you have not expertise inside. And so with our expertise, we can monitor your asset inventory or the network intrusion detection that we were saying before, or also they have a monitoring solution with QRadar that Tobias was saying at the beginning. So during the day, we can have a look, see if there are alarms, and then raising you the possible problem, and connecting with you, we can help you to understand if it's a real problem, or maybe is the standard changes because you have our technician at site making changes, or you are making changes. Then we are supporting you in case of an incident. So if you have a threat or a ransomware or a virus in your system, we can connect to your system, verify what is happening, and try to help you to recover it. Or if you need to support any documentation or any action related to vulnerability of the system, to check if there are any vulnerability in the system. And then obviously we have all the consultancy support related, for example, to the reference architecture, to check if your network is in compliance with the IEC 2443, or if you need any support to document to any authority if your system is in the correct way. And
good, excellent. I think that is a quite complete package. I think we went through a couple of measures how our customer can improve the cyber resilience of the system, and how to react to the upcoming NIS with the increased scope and inclusion of a couple of industries which were not included in the NIS 1. Also we have seen the 3-pillar strategy, from the foundation to services to operations, and how you can react from an industry standard framework risk-based approach, deciding on the needful things you have to do to manage security service offering. And that can be done through ABB's collaborative operation centers, that's short COC, where we have tested, approved, and long-term supported solutions installed for you. So we can help you to react, to comply to the NIS2 directive, which will be signed off fairly soon. We have now quite some questions coming in, and we have only 11 minutes to answer that. While you can still type in your question, don't forget to fill in the survey, which will come up as soon as you close this Tech Talk, where you can reach out directly. And also here, this QR code, if you scan it with your cell phone, then that will bring you directly to the ABB corresponding website for cybersecurity.